Welcome. My name is Danny, and I am the Catechist scientist. So today I decided that before we go into any of the specific topics about how science and faith go together, that we first need to tackle one big question, and that's, is it reasonable or logical to believe in a God? One person who has debated this topic a lot is St. Thomas Aquinas. There's a reason he's a doctor of the church, because he's very smart. And he wrote lots of books on this topic from a philosophical standpoint. And then lots more people have written books analyzing his books. There's even a lot of podcasts and blogs to this day still discussing the importance and the significance of the things that he wrote. Since you can go find plenty of resources on this topic, looking at it from a philosophical view, we're going to take a more scientific approach. We're going to walk through the steps of the scientific method. Now, we will reference some of Aquinas' principles. As I said, you can't really do much better than him, but we are going to look through a more scientific lens. So I learned the scientific method in like second grade, and there's a few different variations of it, but it all has the same basic outline. So what that looks like is observe, conduct research, form hypothesis, test hypothesis, record data, draw conclusion, repeat. So the first step is observe. Observe the whole world around you. What do you see? What do you hear? Can you touch? The second step is conduct research. Now, this isn't doing experiments. We're not there yet. This is looking at what people have done before you. So this is reading up on results and conclusions that other people have come to, because you don't want to waste your time doing something that someone else has already looked into. And there are probably other people out there that have had similar questions to you. So when I was looking into this topic, some of my favorite books that I read on the topic of science and faith were Particles of Faith by Stacey Transekos, The Language of God by Francis Collins, The Believing Scientist by Stephen Barr, and New Proofs of the Existence of God by Father Robert J. Spitzer. But if you're not a big reader, there are also plenty of audiobooks, or probably some of your favorite Christian podcasts have at least one or two episodes covering the topic of science and faith. Now, the third step of the scientific method is to create a hypothesis. Now, a lot of people have heard the word hypothesis, but in the scientific field, it has a very specific meaning. It is an if-then statement. So if we see this in our research, then this must be true. And so we know the second half of our hypothesis, that if something, then it's logical to believe in God. So for our first part, what if we said, if we see proof, then it is logical to believe God exists. All right? So our next step is to test that hypothesis. This is where there's a slight hang-up, because science is defined as the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. But we believe that God is outside of our system, so no human tests of this system can definitively prove that God exists. There's no physical test that we can run where if it comes back blue, God exists. If it comes back red, no God. But science has dealt with a similar problem for years. Before there was the technology to physically see something, science could have multiple different tests to study the effects of whatever it was. One example is DNA. Long before we had Watson and Crick, we knew that there was this genetic material that was being passed down from generation to generation. And so it wasn't until much later that we finally got the technology of X-ray diffraction where we could find out that it was this double helix. And so let's apply this idea to our hypothesis. What do we see in science that are the effects of God? Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is Newton's first law of motion. This states that an object at rest will stay at rest, and an object in motion will stay in motion unless another force acts upon it. Scientists have proven that the universe is constantly expanding. That would mean it's in motion. So logically, one would expect that at some point there was a force that acted upon it to start it in motion at the beginning of time. And since it's the whole universe that's in motion, it had to be something outside of the universe that acted upon it to set it in motion. It's logical to think that's God. Now, Aquinas refers to this as the prime mover argument. Now, in science, we don't just do a single test. What if there was some sort of user error? Or what if your results were a fluke? So ideally, you want to do 3. So we've done 1. That means we need 2 more. So for our next 2 tests, we'll look at the first and second laws of thermodynamics. Thermodynamics is the branch of science having to do with heat and its relationship to all other energies. So basically, it's the study of energies. And the first law of thermodynamics states that matter and energy can either be created or destroyed. But you and I can plainly see that there's matter and energy surrounding us. This matter had to be created at some point. But according to the first law of thermodynamics, it was not created by anything in this universe. So thus, there must be some sort of creator outside of our universe. Again, it's logical to think that's God. Aquinas termed this argument as the first cause. So there's 2 tests. So for our third one, we'll be looking at the second law of thermodynamics, which states, the entropy of a system is always increasing. For those of you who don't know what entropy is, it's basically a lack of order. So this law states that any system will want to become more and more chaotic. That's what it favors. So think of a glass of water. The glass is holding the water molecules together in a very ordered manner. But if you take the glass away, the molecules spread far and wide. They don't want to keep that order if something isn't forcing it to be that way. Now apply that to our universe. Everything in it favors this disorder. Everything in it doesn't want to be restrained by order. So why does it? If everything in this universe really favors that chaos, then why do we have these laws of nature, like the 3 we just talked about? Why are there laws of nature that underwrite every single atom in this world we call home? Even though our system favors chaos, some being outside of our universe is like that glass, holding all of our chaos in check, and writing those laws of nature along with creation. It's logical to think that's God. Now that we've done our tests, the next step is to record data. Basically, what are the empirical results that we found? The universe is moving, but could not have started its own motion. The universe has matter and energy, but cannot create energy or matter on its own. And that the universe will always increase in disorder, but there is order underwritten in everything around us. So the next step is to take those results and draw a conclusion. Based on our hypothesis, if we see proof through experiment, then it is logical to believe God exists. And in all 3 cases, we saw proof of something more. And so this means that the second half is true. It is logical to believe God exists. You might be thinking that's where the story ends, but there's one final, very crucial step left in the scientific method. Repeat! I chose 3 little pieces of all of the scientific knowledge that is out there. And that wealth of knowledge is constantly growing. So this method of looking at the world scientifically and analyzing it needs to be repeated over and over. Part of why I walked you through the whole process is so that you, on your own, can go out and use it to analyze any science that you encounter. How do flowers show us proof of God? How do chemical reactions? What about astrophysics? So keep exploring the world around you and keep asking questions. The natural world has so much wisdom to share. Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested or want to know more, please subscribe to my channel. But if there's a topic you really want to know about, leave a comment below and I will try to get to it. For other day-to-day thoughts and musings about this beautiful science-faith relationship, check out my website, www.catechistscientist.com. There I have some more information, including blog posts and interviews with fellow scientists. Or find me on any of my social media platforms at IST Squared. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to hear from you.